For each of the weekly discussions, there are 2 discussion questions. An assignment sheet with the discussion questions is posted along with all of the other class materials for the week on Blackboard. You should take a look at the questions before doing the readings and watching the movies so that you have an idea of what to pay attention to in order to help you to prepare for the discussion. You should also take a look at the discussion participation rubric for information about the requirements for participation in the discussion and how participation is graded. The discussions take place on the discussion board between midnight on Wednesday and 11:59 p.m. on Friday. They are asynchronous, which means that there is no set time that you have to participate in the discussions. It just has to be during those times. You also have to participate on 2 out of the 3 days. In other words, you have to participate either on Wednesday and Thursday, Wednesday and Friday, or Thursday and Friday. It's up to you which 2 days you choose, and it does not have to be the same 2 days each week. It just has to be 2 days every week. As I mentioned before, for each movie that we watch and each discussion that we have, there are 2 discussion questions. You do not need to post an answer to both questions. You can pick whichever one is the most interesting to you or that you have the most to say about the movie, and you can use that as the basis for your first post for the week. If you want to answer the second question, you can do that for one of your other posts on the second day. As you are discussing your thoughts on the discussion questions, keep in mind that this is a discussion and not a writing assignment. Your posts should not be written like essays. They should be written like a text, an email, or any other form of asynchronous conversation. This also means that your post should be somewhere around 1 to 2 paragraphs, not longer. They should be just long enough to provide your thoughts, either on the discussion question or in response to something someone else has said. You will also notice that on the discussion question sheets, there are instructions to limit your answer to only one example from the movie. This is important because it gives everyone in the group space to participate in the discussion. If you include in your answer every example from the movie, then there's nothing left for anyone else to contribute. At that point, you're also giving a lecture about the movie to the rest of us rather than engaging in a conversation about the movie with us. Finally, when it comes to the discussion questions, they are just a way to get us started analyzing the movie using what we've learned about our filmmaking topic for the week. If there are other things you notice about the movie that are relevant to our class, we can talk about those things too, and you should feel free to include a post about them. Likewise, the discussion board allows you to add photos or videos to your posts. So if there is a relevant image from the movie or a clip from the movie on YouTube that is related to what you are talking about in your post, you should feel free to add them to your post. All of the students in this class have been divided into discussion groups with 5 students per group. I am also a member of all of the discussion groups and will be taking part in all of the discussions for each of the groups. When you click on the link on the Film 116 Blackboard site that has all of the coursework for the week, you will see a link to that week's discussion on the discussion board. Everyone's link is specific to them, so clicking on that link will take you to the discussion for your assigned group. You can only participate in the discussions when they are taking place. In other words, you can't submit a post before midnight on Wednesday or after 11:59 p.m. on Friday. The links for the discussions do not work before or after those times. If, when you log on to the discussion board on the first day that you are participating and no one else in your group has posted yet, you should go ahead and post your answer to whichever discussion question you chose. If there are already other posts on the discussion board, you should still post your answer to the discussion question that you chose, but you should also read the other posts contributed by your classmates and respond to whichever ones you have thoughts about. Additionally, if someone else in your group who has already contributed a post to the discussion has already mentioned the same aspect of the movie or the same example from the movie that you wanted to talk about in answering the discussion question, then rather than posting an entirely new post where you talk about the same thing, you should instead respond to your classmate's post and add your take on the example and your answer to the discussion question there.
This is important for two reasons. One, you can't actually join in a conversation without listening to and responding to the other people taking part in the conversation. It works the same way in an asynchronous conversation. We may all be contributing at different times, but we're still talking to each other on the discussion board. Second, one of the discussion participation requirements is that you have to add something to the conversation. You can't just repeat something someone else has already said. Reading the other posts first is how you ensure that you are meeting the requirement that you add something to the conversation each time that you post something. You should be talking to each other on the discussion board and not just posting something there for the sake of putting up a post. So I encourage you to respond to each other as much as possible, as well as to consider going back on the second day that you participate in the discussion to see who may have responded to you and what they had to say, and then continuing that conversation.
If on the first day that you participate in the discussion, there are no other posts to respond to yet, then that is the limit of your participation on the first day. It will just require you to participate more actively on the second day, since the expectation is that everyone will be making multiple contributions to the discussion over the 2 days that they participate. And grading for discussion participation is based on how actively you contribute to the discussion.
Either way, keep in mind that in order to receive credit, whatever you post in response to one of your classmates has to be more than just "I agree" or "good point." You also have to contribute something of substance to the conversation by adding your own thoughts, opinions, or movie interpretations. Additionally, whatever you contribute has to be your own thoughts on the discussion topic for the week. Discussion board posts require you to apply what you are learning in class to analyzing movies, not doing research on how other people interpret the movie. Research is a separate skill that involves evaluating other people's opinions, not, as analysis does, thinking for yourself and forming your own opinions. I know that won't stop most of you from still Googling information on the films we are viewing before joining in the conversation about the discussion questions, and then using whatever information you find online to shape your contributions to the conversation. So if you do that, please cite your source by providing the link to it in your post, and make sure that you also explain why you find what the source has to say to be persuasive. In other words, why do you agree with it, and why are you using it as the basis for your answer to the discussion question? That's not only important for academic honesty purposes, but also because it is how you can meet the discussion requirement that your contribution includes your own original thoughts on the topic.
Likewise, if you use an AI service like ChatGPT, Google Gemini, or any of the others to generate your discussion board posts, in other words, to write them for you, then that is cheating, and that is subject to the academic honesty violation penalties outlined in the Film 116 course policies. If you use an AI to provide you with an outline or to help you organize your thoughts before you create your post, then you are required to attach the material provided by the AI to your post in order to determine how you added your own contributions in drafting the final post. Please email me before the discussion begins if you have specific questions about any of the discussion requirements. I will be happy to either email you back with answers or make a Zoom appointment to go over it with you that way if you prefer. I'm looking forward to our first discussion and hearing your thoughts on our first discussion topic later this week.